one of the most wonderful times to see the front door. You're getting the flood of sunlight early morning. It's really spectacular. Greene and Greene worked really closely with their clients, and you're going to see examples of that kind of wonderful synergy that they produce together.
I was first introduced to the Gamble House while I was a student attending USC. I had the honor of living in the house for 2 years as a scholar in residence. Being able to come into the front hallway early in the morning before anyone had arrived and seeing the sunlight stream through those beautiful glass doors and splash color down the hallway, that was something I got to do because I was living here. The house had to have been the first seed that was planted as far as my interest in heritage conservation. I continue to learn from the house. I never get tired of coming here. Throughout my lifetime, this house has been a very, very important part, both personally and professionally, of my life.
It was actually at the 100th birthday party of the Gamble House that I heard someone look at the house and say, "It looks like she didn't even do anything to the house." And I'm thinking, excuse me, my mom spent a lot of time here. I realized later, oh, it's not supposed to look like my mom did anything to the house. And that's when I learned that she was a talented preservation architect.
Kelly is a conservation architect. She works on both new construction but also rehabilitating historic buildings and ensuring that they have a future.
Kelly is a scholar in Japanese architecture, Greene and Greene, and mid-century modern. She is able to bridge many worlds, and she's doing it with great skill and talent.
Kelly's work has set a new standard for the architectural profession when it comes to any discussion of heritage conservation.
Kelly represents the most engaged alum from the School of Architecture. She brought all this cultural discussion and conservation agenda through her practices.
Kelly's career really looks at taking architecture that has a long history in Southern California and making it something that's very viable for the 21st century. From a preservation standpoint, that's really what good architecture is about.
Welcome to our office. This is where our firm is housed. We've been here for many years, about half the time that I've had the firm. It's a wonderful space to be in. This building was originally designed by Ed Killingsworth. Ed was a mentor and a dear friend. He was very supportive of my work, and I think I learned a lot from him. In addition to design, philosophy, and approach, I learned a lot about just being an architect. And so it's a great honor to have this building and take care of it, and it's a great joy to come here every day.
Intense. There's no other way to describe Kelly's work. She researches every aspect of a project before she starts on it.
I remember when we were younger, Mom was always up before the sun. I'm talking 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and my mom would go downstairs and she would work. She's always been very, very driven, and she's always been very focused on what she does.
She's a person of hard work, desire to achieve her goals, but always maintaining her integrity.
She understands the complexity of her work, and she really devotes to her work.
When my mom works on a project, she works on a project. And there is not one bit of history, there is not one bit of the space that she doesn't know.
She tackles each project with an incredible level of detail and understanding.
She's wonderfully curious. So at the beginning of a project, she absolutely just digs in to figure out what is it about? What could it be about?
She loves what she does. That's the most important thing that I've learned from her, is to be passionate and to love what you do.
Kelly is very smart and has her feet on the ground about what's real and what's important.
She's a really special person who believes passionately in conservation.
The challenges with this house were based around respecting the authenticity of Neutra's hand and the part that he played when the house was constructed. So we were committed to maintaining all original material wherever possible. And that included the plastic laminate. You know, with our generation, the plastic laminate, it's not considered a precious material, but realizing that if we don't pay attention to it while we're conserving this era of architecture, soon it'll be gone and the next generation won't know what it is.
The work that Kelly does is preserving a legacy for the entire 20th century, but it's not just about encapsulating historic architecture in something in the past, but taking it and moving it forward in a way that does make it important for us now.
There's so little good architecture in the world that the whole idea of what to be preserved and what's not to preserve is complicated and emotional.
There will always be projects that need to be set aside. They really preserve physical evidence that helps tell the story of our ancestors.
The unique qualities of a conservation architect really have to do with the desire to transform our existing built environment into something that still tells the story of its original creation, but then moves it to a different place.
We're here at the Japanese house at the Huntington Gardens. I've always been a student and a fan of Japanese art and architecture, of landscape design. I was just delighted to have this project, not only to bring my preservation experience and expertise to the project, but to be able to study this beautiful structure that's so unique. The most challenging part of the project was understanding the significance of this house and giving it a place in context. The most rewarding part of this project was identifying that this house truly had a very strong significance as part of history of Japanese American culture here in Southern California. This is one of only 4 of these buildings from this period that still remain in the United States. It was a huge honor to be able to work on it with the Huntington.
If I could describe Kelly, the words I would use would be capable, enthusiastic,
smart, generous, and creative.
A good listener, and she doesn't shirk making a tough decision.
I would describe Kelly as somebody who is passionate.
Kelly is very generous, friendly, elegant,
disciplined, creative, distinguished.
A remarkable person, a really wonderful friend, and in my mind, a great architect.
The work that I do is not about me, and it's not about our project team and the work we're doing now. It's about the cultural heritage that came before us, understanding what that is, understanding the significance of every project and what we leave for generations to come.
I would really hope that further generations would look back on my mom's work and realize, okay, what is there now that we need to preserve? Look around, what's significant? What is here in the moment now that is too good to let go?
Kelly's been extraordinary in seeing architectural preservation as inherent in architecture, not as something specifically in its own little realm, but it's just a fundamental part of architecture.
In heritage conservation circles, Kelly has done tremendous work to educate us, to help us understand how important it is to have contemporary practice brought to any discussion of historic preservation.
Her work matters because she's restoring and saving and reusing buildings that are important to our landscape, that are important to our cultural heritage, that are important to the history of Los Angeles and Southern California and beyond.
I like to quote the great Japanese-American artist and garden builder Isamu Noguchi, who said, "To shoot the arrow forward, first we have to pull the bowstring back. To know where we're going to go is dependent on a knowledge of history." Kelly's investment in the past pushes us all to a kind of more sensitive and complex understanding of the present and creation of the future.
The environment that human being lived in is the experiences and memories that human being has lived through. So conservation is really to bring that collective memory together.
Architecture as a fine art is what Charles Greene called it, and I think that's what people leave here understanding. And frankly, that's what Kelly McLeod has helped us to preserve for generations to come, and we thank her for it.